Do you want a balloon? Take it. Pennywise.
This tutorial is going to be pretty simple to follow along. In this tutorial we'll be covering motion tracking using Turbulence plugin, Octane render and compositing in After Effects. Go to pexels.com and download this video of this lake. Also you're going to need to go to Sketchfab and download Pennywise and a red balloon. The link is given in the credit in the description. Once you have that, you're going to open up After Effects, go to File, Import File, select your video, import, drag it down to this box, go to File, Export, Add to Render Queue, Lossless, you're going to choose a PNG sequence. And then you create a folder and save and render out. In Cinema 4D, you're going to go to Tracker, Motion Tracker. You're going to import your footage. My footage, I started from 273. I cut out the beginning part because the camera's not rising. So mine goes from that. Open. And then resampling, you're going to make 100% to make a clearer image. You're going to create a background object, go to 2D tracking, go roughly halfway, number of tracks, input 1000, create auto tracks, and click auto track. And then go put the castle on.
A few moments later.
Okay, so once that's finished, go to 3D Solve and run 3D Solver. That's going to take a few minutes. Now the kettle's boiled, go make yourself a cup of tea.
A few moments later.
Okay, so once the 3D Solve has finished, you should see a solved camera and auto features. In your solved camera, you're going to see all these green tracks. In your motion tracker, we are going to select a planar constraint under tracker tags, and you're going to want to line this constraint up with these green tracks. Make sure your planar constraint is on the floor and you've got all these as green and not like red or missing. Once that's done, create a plane. And you can rotate this, so make that plane editable, push R, hold down shift and move that around. You can make that a little bit bigger and wider, something like that's fine. As I'm using Octane, I'm gonna pull up the window now. Pop that to the side. Let's put a shadow catcher on this. So extensions, Octane, Octane material. Click into that, go down to common, click on shadow catcher and drop that onto your plane. Create another material, Octane, Octane material. And now we're going to go to diffuse, texture, and we're going to load the PNG sequence for our background. So find that on your computer. Click on the beginning, open, click on no, click on the picture, go to animation, calculate, go down to editor, animate preview, close that, and then drag that onto your background. Next, we're going to go to the settings in Octane, change it to path tracing. I'm just going to drop this down for now. 1000, 10, 10, 1. Let's click on alpha channel, and as well click on adaptive sampling. So now you can see your video in your Octane. Next, under motion tracker, we want to have a constraint tag, a position constraint, where we are going to have Pennywise. Position constraint, I'm just going to choose this position on the bridge. If I drop in a cube, make that smaller, bring that down, and I'm just going to move this out a little bit. Just put a texture so we can see. So it's kind of at the top of this snow, and if we go to the end, it's at this top. So that looks like that's worked. So let's hide that for now. Go to your Pennywise character and load that up, and that should drop down into the same position, but he's too big, so we need to shrink him down. So you can either keep the drain, or you can just move him underneath the plane. You can also go to this live tool and select polygon mode and then delete the polygons, but I'm just going to leave it like that. You create a Octane material in the diffuse, load up your surface color copy, and then go to normal, and then load up this one, your normal copy, and then drag that onto Pennywise. So check that he is in place. So go to beginning, go to end, move him forward a little bit, and go to the beginning just to check it's okay. So I think I'll keep that. I think that looks okay. That's tracked properly. Now I want this balloon to rise, so I need to get rid of this balloon. So to do that, I'm going to come out the solved camera, I'm going to zoom in, I'm going to go to polygon mode and go to this rectangle selection and highlight the balloon and delete. And then you're going to do the same thing for the string. Why is it not working? So just selecting on this string, and then when it's highlighted, click and delete. Okay, so once that balloon has disappeared, go back to model, and now we're going to insert our balloon. So merge project and open up your balloon, select your balloon, make sure you go to model, object, and scale the balloon down. Now just line it up with his hand and in between his finger and thumb. If it's too big, you can scale it down. Once you're happy with that, go to your camera view. If you're happy with the size, you can create a new material and color the balloon to whatever color you want. I'm going to use Octane's materials. And before we do that, it's a good time to save. So save project, open live DB. For the balloon, I'm going to choose plastic, and I'm going to select a red balloon because that's the same as the movie. So download and then drag that onto your texture. There's two in this balloon, so it's not that one on the right, it's the one on the left. And then for the string, I'm going to have just a white plastic. So I'll drag that onto the right side. And now we have the balloon. And I want to animate this balloon so it goes up. And to do that, I'm gonna make the balloon a child of Pennywise, and then I'm going to select balloon and click keyframe, and then I'm going to go to the end, and then I'm just going to drag the balloon out of the picture, and then click another keyframe, and then go back to the beginning and just see if the balloon is rising. So you can see the balloon slipping from his fingers, so that's all good. Save project. Okay, so now we might as well bring in a HRDI. So go to Object, HRDI, select that. Turns everything black. And if you go to HRDI Heaven, you can go to HRDIs and select a suitable outdoor HRDI. Doesn't have to be perfect because you can make adjustments, but just grab one of those. I'm gonna try one of my HRDIs. Okay, so I don't like that one. So I'm going to try a different one. So as we don't have a proper HRDI from this video, just go with one you like. So the last one was way too bright for what I want. So I've chosen this other one. I'm going to adjust the brightness a little bit. You can make refinements. Adjust the brightness to what you like, and can't really see any shadows in the video apart from kind of underneath this bridge. So I'm going to make sure the shadow is kind of close to him to make it a bit more realistic. So you have to adjust these levels until you can see a shadow. So there's a little one there by his feet. But yeah, I think I'm going to stick with this. The shadow's kind of just beneath his feet, similar to that bridge. He's not too crazy bright. And maybe I'll just light him a little bit. In After Effects, we can put tints and stuff to make him look a little bit different. You can also render out passes if you know what you're doing. Okay, so shadow underneath, similar to the bridge, and the balloon is pretty red. If you go too much, it's gonna lighten up a little bit. It's not too bad, I guess. So yeah, just toggle around with your power, your brightness, and this rotates just to get something you like. If you're not too happy, we can make little adjustments in After Effects. The other thing I had was Turbulence. So what I did for that was created a plane. You have these as the emitters underneath his feet. So I'm just going to make that smaller. And line it up with his feet. And then I'm going to place it underneath the shadow catcher. So the smoke's going to rise up. And we'll call this emitter 1. And then we'll control and move that up. And you can just leave that as that is. That's our 2 emitters. With this other emitter, we're going to move it to his other foot. And then just place it how you would like the smoke to come up from. Do something like that. So next we need to put a turbulence tag on this. So go to tags. Whenever it kind of stalls, it's always a good reminder to save in case it crashes. Yeah, so go to tags, turbulence emitter. In your turbulence emitter, go to channels, temperature value 1, density value 1, and I think that's it. Copy this and move it into your other emitter. And now you're going to put a container down, so go to your turbulence, select turbulence FD container, and you want this surrounding everywhere the flame's going to be. So if it's going to go a little bit higher than him, it's quite a small container, so to be safe, let's make this grid size. It's just going to render quicker, and the simulation will take a shorter time. I don't know, 150 by 200. We can move that up a bit. I think that's good. So 150 by 200 by 100. In your turbulence container, go to simulation and timing is what frame will the simulation start from. Mine starts from 273, but to make it a little bit more interesting, I might have mine starting from, maybe start us from 450. And I'm going to finish at the end of the video, so that's timing. Wind speed, I'm going to have to play with this to see what the simulation looks like, but let's start with 30, and I can't remember where the direction, I think it's this middle one to go up. Let's try 50. The wind directions are is the turbulence going to go this way, downwards? I forget, but we'll find out once we run it. Velocity 30. Intensity channel, select to density. Turbulence, I don't know, 25. Smaller size, let's go 3. Larger size, let's try 25. Temperature, cooling 4%. Buoyancy direction, select that to all 0. Density, active, have the same as the other one, 4% under dissipation. Gravity direction is all 0. And I think that's good for that simulation. Viewpoint rendering, change the channel to density. And rendering, go to smoke shader, mapping, choose density. Now go to your turbulence, select simulation window. Let's pop that to the side. Good time to save it. And let's push start. You can see by the simulation window the smoke's gone up like this, but before we make any adjustments, let's put a tag on it so we can see what it looks like in Octane. And to do that, go to C4 Octane tags and Octane object tag and drag that onto your container. And now we can see the smoke. So let's just okay, that's not too bad. It's subtle. If we want to make some changes, we can go to this tag and go to particle rendering. Go down to the bottom and click on this white box. And here you have density. If you move this up and down, you can see the smoke gets heavier or less heavy. Yeah, move it up and down, it gets more or less. So I might have something like that. And this other one, oh yeah, it's gonna have a bit more flames. But I will just leave it more smoky, I think. I'm happy. The smoke is looking a little bit random, direction-wise. If you want to make changes, go back to your Turbulence container, go to simulation, and I would suggest tinker around with the settings in the wind. You can increase the wind speed and it will go up more violently, I guess. And wind direction, you tinker with that. If you change the wind direction, it's gonna increase the force of it going up. But for me, leave it as it is, I think. That's what it looks like. Okay, so to export this, we are going to go to settings, change it to render where it says render, go to Octane render, go down to Octane render and use all GPUs, go to save, click a place where you want to save it. I'm going to do it as a PNG sequence, so I'm going to create a folder and we'll just call this PNG render. Click into that, save. I'm going to change mine to a PNG sequence. And if you know what you're doing with OpenEXR, that's really good for compositing, but I'm not too sure about that, so I will leave that on this tutorial. I'm going to select alpha channel, and we want all frames rendered. So it's gone from 273 on mine to 278 because you remember I cut out the beginning part of it. This is the dimensions that should automatically be set. So that's looking good. The save's looking good. The other thing you need to do is we're going to do it in an alpha channel because we can put tints and stuff into Pennywise. If we render the whole image out, any adjustments is going to be everything. So go to settings in your Octane and make sure it's on alpha channel, deselect keep environment, and it hasn't gone because we've still got our background, so hide that. And now it's just Pennywise getting rendered. You can speed up your render. You don't really need 1,000. I don't think it's going to make much difference. So let's choose 500. And I might drop this down to 8. For diffuse and specular and scatter, they're all 8. GI clamp is 1. Adaptive sampling, and you could put on the denoiser. So go to camera imager, Select denoiser and enable denoising. Save it before you render and click play. So just on the first frame, make sure everything is looking good and you're happy with it. You can see the bottom is sticking out, but if it was too high or whatever, you can stop the render and make adjustments. So just check the first one. It's also going to be an indication of how long it's going to take. The very first render is always going to take sometimes a little bit longer to calculate, but because it's quite simple, it should give you an indication of how long this will take per frame. And like I said, if it's too high, if your graphics card is not so good, maybe you can make the max samples a little bit less. Shouldn't really make too much difference if you drop it down a little bit. Okay, so in After Effects, you're going to import your PNG sequence. Drag that to composition. Import your render. Okay, so I'm going to add some noise. So type in noise under your effects and presets, drag that onto your render. You can zoom in a little bit. And if you increase this noise, you want to kind of match the bridge. Probably 20 is too high. Let's try 10, maybe 5. That's just going to help blend that a little bit better. And then back to your effects and presets, add some curves. I'm just going to make the clown a bit lighter, so this white curve I'm just going to drag up. You can drag it to how you like it. So type in camera lens blur and you can drag that on, and I'm just going for a radius of 2. You can choose to use this or not, it's up to you depending on what you're going for. And I think that blends a little bit better. And then you can add some other effects, but if you're happy with that, you can add sound effects and then go to File, Export, Adobe Media Encoder, and then you can save that to an MP4. Then name your video, click save, click play, and you are done.
Do you want a balloon? Take it. Pennywise.